Mic test, mic test. Yeah, so now it's working.
Yeah, better.
Alright, so I'll mute on Discord and then I'll do it on the stream. Sorry about that. Cool. Yeah. So MoTeC, what is MoTeC? MoTeC is, like I said, a data. It's a company that specializes with data acquisition, specifically for racing. Their main job is to sell you with their sensors, the ECU, the display on the display dash, and all this. That is their main sort of source of income. But what they do provide actually is the software which we can use in Assetto Corsa. So if you go to downloads and software and you go to latest releases, this is where you can download MoTeC. And data acquisition and data analysis. So depending on your OS, you can download the i2 Pro. So all of this is free. The standard one and the Pro one is both free. Just take the Pro one because the Pro one has a bit more features, and then you can do a bit more in-depth analysis with the telemetry files that you get from Assetto Corsa, right? So I've already downloaded, so I will jump straight now to MoTeC, but you can use that and download and then install, and you'll be greeted, actually not with this, so let's workspace, close workspace. So when you open up MoTeC, it will tell you, this is what you see, and it'll tell you like if you want to create a new workspace or if you have any recent workspaces. Most likely when you first open up MoTeC, you won't have any workspaces. I personally, I don't like to do my own workspace. I use the ones that is in Niels Najuk's Discord, and I'm using his MoTeC workshop workspace, sorry. Let me share that in the chat. So if you guys do not have the workshop, the workspace, let me know and then I can put it in there. So if you don't have it, you can see it. So you can click on that link. That goes to this is from Niels' Discord, and he uploads the workbook there, right? And if you open up the workbook and you click, so I named it as Niels. You can have it probably be a different name, but if you open up, you have a few things. So like Excel, if you think about Excel has, like, you open the workbook and then you have different sheets in there. So you have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 and all that. And in Niels' case, he has this comparison, G's, driver, wheel speed, understeer, oversteer page, RPM history, suspension histogram, suspension travel, rake, and all this. And as you can see, this does not display anything at the moment because we don't have any data behind. Yeah, but once we load up the telemetry file, we can see squiggly lines starting to appear, and then that's where the fun begins, where we try to figure out what those lines mean. Okay, and Niels have so you can have a worksheet group that he calls base, and then he also has a worksheet group called track maps, and later on when we see the track maps, when we have the data loaded, then this is showing different track map infographics depending on the sheets here. And he also has this one here, but it's still in trial. So yeah, so any questions so far? Too fast, too slow? Everything okay so far? I wonder if all good, yeah. So I also open up on Discord. I think I can also do on Discord the voice for both. Yeah. Okay. The worksheet, you can paste it anywhere, and I should show that actually. So when you want to open the workspace, you click on open existing workspace, and you can browse, and then you can just point to wherever you have it saved. For me, I have it in the installed folder, so in the program files. Yeah, so here is news, and then just click on the workspace, and then it will open up. Yeah. And this one is from ACC, Assetto Corsa, the original one. So ACTI is the interface or the add-on that you use to transfer MoTeC data out from the game from AC. Okay, so go back to news. Alright, if so far so good, then I will jump to opening up a data. Let's have like a look at data. Right. It's loading up. All right. So when you so I'm just going to open something random first, and then I'll explain to you detail behind. So I'll probably just go and pull Ricard, because why not, right? So close. So as you can see, I've opened up a random one. So this was from our Paul Ricard race a while back. So this was the practice session, and this is it. So to get ACC to do or to record MoTeC files, you have to enable it in the electronics page. So there's the AC, and then the traction control, the ABS, and traction control 2, and then there's also the telemetry files. I suggest, if you guys want to start out, to record maybe about 20 or 25 laps as a starting point, and I'll go into the reason why later on, but 25 is what I usually do. And the idea behind is when you go out, when you first drive out from the pit lane, it will record that as the first lap, and then as you drive around and you come back to the pits, or you teleport back to the pits and all this, it will just record. And then when you go out again, it will continue the counter. And if, let's say, you exceed 25 laps, then it will create a new file, and then that file will start. So let's say you've done you record for 25 laps, but you did 30 laps in total in your practice session, for example. So what happens is the first file will record lap 1 to 25, and the second file will record lap 6 to lap 30. So you have two files where the bulk of it is an overlap, but you would have the starting is from the first 5 laps that you did, and the ending is from the last 5 laps that you do. Okay. If you already know that you're going to do a long stint, so if you're doing an hour's race, or for example 2 hours race that we did like in Laguna, that was about 60-70 laps. If you want to have all of them together, then you would have to do 70 laps as a MoTeC file. Okay. So far so good? Take that as a yes. Okay. Then right, so looking at the file, so this is basically a basic telemetry file. So like I said, different sheets show different data. So comparison, it shows the speed, the car speed, the G-forces acting on the car, latitude and longitude, throttle application, this rotation as a degree per second, and then your oversteer degrees. And then if you go to G's, some channels might be the same, but some might be different. So for here, for example, it's specifically only looking at steering angle, and then your lateral and longitudinal G forces, and then the speed. And then if you go to different worksheets, you see different data. So for example, this is basically all the suspension histogram, this is rake, and all this. I won't go over all for today. I'll just go for the most important one, or the easiest one that you guys can start off with, and then maybe when we do the next session, then we can go a bit more detail on the others, other things. Yeah. So the first thing that, if you guys want to start using MoTeC, the first easiest gains that you can do is actually this suspension histogram page. Okay, the suspension histogram page is really nice to make sure that your dampers are working properly. If your dampers are too hard or too stiff or too soft, the car can feel or can do different things, do unexpected things. And the easiest way to know if your if your dampers are set correctly is to look at the histogram. And the reason for this is because we can't feel what the car is doing. If we are in a car, if you're driving a car and the dampers are too soft, when you press the brakes, it will start oscillate. And if it's too stiff, and the car goes over a bump, for example, then you would feel that the car is jumping and skittish, and that you know immediately that the dampers are not right. But from the game, it's really hard to feel that, and it's really hard to visualize that in a meaningful way. And that's why the dampers is the first thing that I would check, and the first thing that I would change, because when you change just the dampers, the car behaves a bit more naturally, and it won't jump around. It won't either try to push you off track when you go over the rumble strips, or it won't oscillate too much that you start losing grip as you make the corner or something like this. So what is it that you need to see in the suspension histogram page? Basically, you want a curve that is similar to the rears, like this. It's basically a bell curve that you want, and the more close it is to this shape, that means you are already on target with your damper settings. And in this case, the front is way too stiff, and because it's just spiking like that. And maybe I should tell you. Okay, so with the dampers, so there's four graphs here. It corresponds to the front left, front right, rear left, rear right. Within each tire, you have a rebound side and a bump side. Okay, so this, if you look only at the front left and you look on the left hand side, that is specifically on the rebound side, and the right hand side is specifically about the bump side. What is a bump? What is a rebound? Bump is when the suspension is compressed, then the dampers are acting during this phase, and it's only recording every time the suspension goes into bump, and you see the data in here in this region. If on the other hand, let's say you are accelerating away from a corner, the weight transfers to the back, and then there's an extension of the suspension. This extension is acting only on the rebound side. So that's what bump is, and that is what rebound is. That's how you differentiate the two. And this is also how you differentiate, okay, do I increase the bump or do I increase the rebound? In terms of fast rebound, fast bump, slow bump, the way to know this is if you see this gray area, so it's slightly grayish here, this is defining the low speed. Yeah? So this is low bump, or low rebound, low bump, and then this region would be high or fast rebound and fast bump on this side. Yeah? So in ACC and in real life, we don't really know when exactly the dampers are working in this fast region. So we only have to estimate, and there's no like, it's not necessarily that this is absolutely everything inside here is fast, or everything inside here is, or everything outside here is everything outside here is fast and everything inside here is slow. We don't really know that, but this is like the best guess that Niels has come up with. Okay, so this is what I use. So if anything that is fall within this first 2 or 3 bars, I would consider that as the slow region, and then everything else is fast region, and then you can adapt and play around with it. So that's the idea behind. And in this case, the front, like I said, is stiff. How do I know this? Is because so if the stiffer the dampers, that means the more force is required to move the whole suspension system, either in compression or in to extend. Yeah. So if you have more or you have a stiffer damper, then it takes longer, or the suspension system spends a lot more time in this region, slowing or going in this. So if you now reduce the front dampers, then you would see this this region starting to go down and down and down, and then coming to a similar level like this. Yeah. So for this case, if I look at this data, the first thing that I would do is, okay, I'll probably reduce the bump and rebound, the slow bump and slow rebound, and at this point it will be purely guesswork. Some cars, if you look at this, 3 clicks might be enough. Some cars you have to go 5 clicks, some cars even 10. This is all car dependent, and it just you have to do trial and error basically, and you can go you want it to be coming down and that the graph is making this sort of shape. Personally, I feel if you go a bit on the softer side, it's fine, because the car doesn't want to jump and do stupid things, and you feel that the car is feeling or doing something wrong. So even if it's slightly softer, like when you first initially do it and you go maybe extreme, so maybe you go 5 or 6 clicks softer, just so that you know, okay, how far away or how much has that the whole histogram has decreased. And you can feel it as well when you drive. If for example the car feels oversteery or understeery around the corner or coming out of the corner, actually changing the damper setting is like the quickest win, that you don't have to change anything else, and that the car feels a bit more stable on the road. Yeah. And then as you see this shape now coming to this, not really, there's not really a target damper velocity. You want it to be equal, roughly, so around 25% ish, 25 to 30% for the slow bumps and slow rebound. The high or the fast rebounds and fast bump, this is mostly happening when you are over bumps or you're over the rumble strip. So depending on how you drive, if you always take the curb, a lot of curb, then you would expect those values to go up as well. And for me, like, I'm a bit risk adverse and I don't take the curbs too much, then that's why you see the fast setting is not. It is track dependent as well. At the end of it, it's the shape that you want. The absolute values here doesn't really matter that much. The one thing that you want is to get the shape, because then you can start feeling what the car is actually supposed to do. And then once you have the shape, then you can start playing around. Okay, maybe you can go a bit stiffer, a bit softer, and to really adjust and fine tune the dampers so that you manage the car better during weight transfers. I won't have an example right now how this would correlate to how the driving feel would be. I'll note it down, then we can do this in the next session, I guess, because that would mean we look at the data and then we go to ACC and then we drive around and then we come back and then we look at the data again. That would be the easiest way. But for now, the idea is to just get the shape and then you can already start feeling what the car is doing. Okay? Alright. Sekejap minum air sekejap. Dahaga. Any other questions so far about changing the dampers? If so, just keep this in mind. So if you look at the histogram, if you want to make the histogram go down, that means you soften the value, and if you want to raise the bar up, then you stiffen the dampers. And it's also the same with the fast dampers settings as well. But keep in mind that if you bring the soft dampers down, naturally the fast dampers will also rise up as well. Okay, so if you lower the bump and rebound, slow bump and rebound, it will bring this curve down, and naturally the suspension system will have a bit more fast travel in it. Yeah? And then you might want to do only the slow bump and rebound setting first in the dampers. See how the histogram is, and then only later on adjust the fast bump and rebound settings. Yeah, so that's like the quickest way, and you can really feel the car feeling a bit different and a bit more manageable if you do this. Okay. So then once you're done with the suspension histogram, the next part actually is, once you've adjusted the suspension histogram, then the next part, actually the best thing to do is drive about 5 or 6 laps, and you want 5 laps, consistent 5 laps in a row where you are lapping about the same time. Okay, and the idea behind is because MoTeC is basically just recording everything that you're doing in the car, and if you're not doing anything consistently on track, then when you look at MoTeC, it's really hard to try to find trends and trying to analyze, okay, am I going too fast, am I over braking, is the car doing something wrong, and all this. And I like to change the suspension histogram first, because then I have a base where I know the car is feeling relatively alright, and then I drive around and I know, okay, now I have 5 laps, and so happens that here the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laps I am lapping at relatively the same time, so I don't have to open another file. But here then we can start looking at in terms of the driver, what improvements can be made. So I like to, so you can use 2 tabs basically for this. You can do the comparison, and you can go the driver tab. This comparison, if let's say you're driving around in the same session, so probably if I'm driving in Kialami, and then I'm driving around, and then I have Ivan doing his lap and also Nigel doing his lap, and we are all in the same car, it's all in the same session, and I want to compare, okay, where am I losing time? So then if Ivan and Nigel pass the MoTeC data to me, then what I can do is I can open up the fastest lap from Nigel and from Ivan and from myself, and then I can overlay them in one go. So in this example, what I'll do is I'll just open a second pull record. Just open something here. click open, and then so now you have two files, right? So okay, so this is actually the same session. So if you see lab 1 to lab 14 is exactly the same data. That's because after lab so if you come into the, let's say you do 14 laps and then you come into the pit, or you go into the next session. So if you were in practice and then you jump to qualifying, it will then create a new file, but with all the previous info as well. So sometimes this can happen as well. Right. So for example, in this case, my fastest lap is this one, and then I want to compare this time here, for example. So if I click this one, the middle button, then I can have a look and compare, okay, where exactly am I losing time? Am I taking a corner too slow? Am I taking a corner too fast? Am I doing something wrong? This comparison is a very quick and easy way, but it only makes sense. So if, let's say, if you're doing a session together with someone and that person is maybe lapping faster than you, and you want to find out, okay, where are you losing time, you can use this compare tool and just see, okay, right here in this corner I am losing the green lap is the one that you marked with orange, so the main one, and the white one is this second one that you selected. So in the green one I'm faster, maybe the second one I'm braking too much, right? And then this corner, it's a very big difference, so I can zoom in, use the mouse and you can zoom in, so you can see, alright, I'm braking a lot more later and carrying more speed for this corner instead, compared to the slower lap. Yeah? Wanting to make sure that while you're doing comparisons, make sure that you are in the distance comparison. Yeah? So if you go to view and you go, you go to data, you can toggle between time and distance. So what this is in one lap, so let's say if on the distance marker, that means the starting point is the same and it measures from the starting point the distance that you have traveled. So in both cases, the car has traveled 487 meters away from the starting line, so it's the same point on the track. If, let's say, I'm doing the time difference, it's the x value is the time, so you might not be able to see the difference here, and I don't really know how to explain this, but it's like if you cross the line at the same speed and you brake at the same point, then the traces would be similar. But if I am 5 kilometers an hour slower, then I come to the brake point later, and then it will show this difference in the time. So the second lap would be probably slower, and I can make that even more obvious. That's not so good. So here in this case, so at 7 seconds both cars are braking, but at so in this case at 21 seconds I'm already braking for the next corner, the next set of corners, but here 1.4 seconds behind, then only I'm slowing down for the slower lap. Yeah. So for me this is a bit confusing, and I prefer to use the distance marker. Okay. And if you're wondering, so you can select two different places. So if you want to compare, and say I zoom in, I want this marker to be here, and then I want to put another marker, you can press spacebar and the second marker will appear, and then you can do this difference, and you can see, okay, this is 43 meters difference, and then this is how many seconds different apart these 2 points is. And if you want to remove that, you can click D, and then it just returns to 1. So spacebar and D, spacebar to add, and then D to remove. Okay. So using the compare, it makes sense if you have a faster lap as a reference. Now, if you don't have a reference, the best one to look at is the driver. So this is basically you're using MoTeC to figure out, okay, am I driving properly, and is there something that I can improve? And the first thing that you can see, so in this sheet you have the speed trace, and you also have the brake and throttle input, your steering angle, and then if the traction control and ABS is on, and the what gear you're in. Okay, so right now, if I don't know if it's obvious to you, but if you look at the brake trace, you see that I'm not braking fully, and this was actually a problem that I had before because of my brake pedals. It's not working properly, and that's why the brake only goes up to 75%. It doesn't go all the way up to 100%. So that's why I'm not braking as hard as possible, and I can't do that with the set of pedals that I have at that time. Yeah, and then the things to look out for in this in this view is you want to see if there are instances like this may be a corner, so that is a corner, so I'm gonna ignore that. You want to see instances where you are maybe mashing the throttle too much, that the car then becomes oversteering out of the exit, and then you have to lift off, and then you have to be on the power again, and this is where you would lose time basically. And unfortunately in this trace I don't have it, so let's try to find somewhere where we might be able to see this. Yeah, okay, so it's not in here, but you can see, or here is where you can do you can check, okay, am I braking as much as as hard as possible? Am I trail braking into the corners? Am I having to lift off coming out of the corner? And am I is this lifting off, is it because I'm mashing the throttle too much, or is it because the car have a tendency to oversteer? So these are the things that you can sort of have a look through MoTeC. You might have already, like after when you do your session, you already know, okay, I'm oversteering out from this corner, I'm oversteering out from a specific corner, and you go to MoTeC with this already in mind, and the data MoTeC is there to sort of validate, okay, are you oversteering out from the corner? And you can sort of see that. Yeah. And I wanted to take the older ones as well, because I know at that time I didn't trail brake, so I was pressing the brakes as hard as I can, and then while I'm pressing the brakes, I'm already starting to turn. So this also you can check in MoTeC whether or not you are trail braking. Are you trail braking enough? So I know trail braking, you have to sort of gradually release as you are coming in, and as you can see, I'm sort of like releasing already, and I'm still not finished with my turn in. So this is a good example of how not to trail brake, and this is something that, oh, okay, you can see it visually, and then you can sort of go into your mind, okay, the next session I need to trail brake more. So the brake markers, if I'm always using the same brake markers, then I can estimate, okay, if I am not trail braking enough, maybe I can go a bit further from the brake marker and then carrying more speed, or trail brake at the same time and then releasing more slowly, and all this. So these are all driver improvements that you can do just looking at MoTeC and trying to figure out, okay, what are the things that I can do. I will actually close Paul Ricard because I have a few from the recent ones. So let's go Kialami. I will open 2 Kialamis, actually, that was the plan. So I have two Kialamis. Unfortunately, they're not so good because this is quite slow, one thing, and then they are not so much. So second, let me find a proper lap time, so I think it's this one, and I will open up this one as well. So this one and this 145. Right. So both are 5 laps. So this was my first attempt at driving again in Kialami, and I was doing a 144s. And then with the second attempt, I was doing 143s. Okay. And so this was recent, so I fixed now my brake pedals, and now I'm getting 100% braking power. So great. This spikes that you see, this is as you downshift, the car auto blips the throttle. So that's why there's a 50% jump every time you downshift. So you can validate that by looking, okay, I'm shifting down here, and then the car automatically blips. Yeah. And here also, I am trail braking, but I'm not doing it nice. So I am like stepwise. It's not a smooth motion. So this is a driver's improvement that I need to do as a driver. So I need to release the brakes a bit more slowly instead of going at levels like this. And also the same, I jump from one level to second level, and so on and so forth. So these are the things that you can sort of look as a driver what you can do. For today I will only touch about driver improvements or driving improvements that the driver can do, and then maybe in the next session we can look at what the car is doing then. So in this one, so in this case, so I had this before where I was doing the stepwise motion, right? And now if I overlay that with the faster time that I did, so I'll move it a bit to this here. So here you can see two things. So firstly is that I'm braking later in the faster time, and that the stepwise motion is now sort of, it's still there, I'm still going to a step, but it is a bit better than these 3 steps that I'm doing. So that is an improvement that I did. And then as you can see, the steering input is also a bit more gradual compared to what I was doing before. So these are the things that you can sort of look in MoTeC and to determine, okay, is my driving technique correct? Am I doing trail braking correctly? Am I doing it wrong? Am I applying throttle too much? Or too soon, for example? So in this case, so here's a great example of me coming out of the corner, and I went immediately too high, and then I had to let go, and then coming back. So let's open this one, and we were here. No, it was this one. So I was already on the throttle, and then I had to release and then come back again. So this is, ideally you don't want this. If you're stepping on the throttle, you want the curve to be as gradual as possible, yeah? Without either the car stepping out or oversteering. So if I say the car is oversteering at this point, it might not be the car, it might be the driver that is causing the car to oversteer at that point. So this is one thing that as a driver, I would improve myself first, then only try to change the car. If, however, every single lap that I do, and so this is the same point. So nice thing about MoTeC, if you leave this here, it will always go back to the same place. Yeah. So I don't see that happening all the time, but I do see that I have to lift off. So maybe this is a corner, so that's not a good example. But this is coming out from the straight. So in this example, there's a slight lift off here, right? Oops. There's a slight lift off at this region here that I have to do a stepwise. If I see it always all the time that I'm getting this, and it's and I don't see it. Okay, this one it's not there. This one it's there, but then I have to it's not as bad as before. So if I see this consistently and it's an oversteering issue, then I might want to then consider, okay, if the driver really cannot change and he's stomping the pedals too much, then it makes sense, okay, let's make the car easier for him to drive, and then trying to change the oversteer effect coming out from the corner. Maybe the driver can also increase traction control to help with the wheel spin, or if it's really on all the corners that's coming out, then maybe we have to soften the rear so that the driver really doesn't, the car will not spin too much. So those are the things that you want to see. You want to detect the trends, and yeah, and this is how you would do it. So you go, okay, you've done a stint, and then you say, okay, I know I'm having difficulties at this one specific corner. Then you look at that specific corner, and then you say, okay, is it because of the driver? Is it because I'm causing the car to understeer or to oversteer? And if it's the driver, then we can adapt and change our driving style. But if it's consistently there and we've already tried to change our driving style and it's still there, then most likely it's the car. And if it's the car, then we have to decide, okay, is it happening for all the corners, or if it's just that specific one corner? If it's that specific one corner, then we can it's a bit more difficult, because if you change one thing on the car, it will affect all the other corners. If it's something like one slow speed corner and you're oversteering out all the time, then it's probably a good idea to increase the traction control level, because that one you can change per corner. Then you don't change how the car feels for the rest of the track, but only for that specific corner. Yeah. So this is sort of the thing that you can do with MoTeC. I think I'm rambling too much. Is that okay for you guys? So far? Oh, good. All right. Cool. So yeah, some tips that you guys, if you guys really want to start doing, or if you guys want me to look at your MoTeC, the first thing that you guys really need to do is to be able to drive consistent lap. So if, let's say, this second one is only this 3 laps is consistent, but this first one is out, so I can only take this 3 laps as a comparison to sort of see, okay, what is the trend, what is the car or what is the driver naturally doing each and every time. So if I have, let's say, 15 laps all up doing about the same time, then I can see, okay, is this the trend, I can see it better. If I only have 5 laps and like only 2 laps are within 0.1 second, then it's very difficult to sort of see the trend. Yeah? OP, the link is, let me just copy again and then sorry, link for software, let me do that. Is here. Okay. Yeah, so let's have a look. When you want to open MoTeC for the first time, so you see how this one, it tells you how many laps I've done and what's the fastest time. But for this one, it doesn't say anything. It just tells you 16 minutes 58 seconds 0.86. This means that I have the game has generated the file, but I have not yet opened the file. So after I've opened the file, then it will tell you how many total laps I've done within the 60 minutes. But if you've never opened the file before, what happens is MoTeC will show you the total, the total stint duration that you did. Yeah. And another thing about ACC is that if you, let's say you did a race session or you did a practice session, and then you made a flying lap, you got it on MoTeC, which is great, and then you also want to save the replay. If you click save replay, what happens is exactly like this. This was the stint that you did, and then at the end of the stint, then you save a replay, you get a duplicate for some reason, and I don't know why, but you will get a duplicate. So if I open these two, they are exactly the same file. So these two file, let's close this one, so not the NSX. So these two, as you can see, the laps and the lap times are exactly the same. It's just that this one was me actually driving, and this one was me saving the replay or going into the replay. You don't even have to save the replay. You just go into the replay punya view, and the data duplicates for some reason. But the data is exactly the same. So if I look at both, you see the traces are exactly the same. Yeah, so keep this in mind, because if you set the game to record telemetry, this might happen, and it can be that your Assetto Corsa folder becomes very, very big. So my MoTeC file actually now is about 6 gigs worth of data, and most of it I actually don't need it anymore. So just be careful, especially if you're doing long stints, 30-minute stints, and you do 5 times. That is a lot of data, and just keep in mind, if let's say if you do 2 30-minute stints, and for example the first 30 minutes you think, okay, you're a bit you just started playing, and then you're not as consistent as you would like, you can just immediately just go to the MoTeC folder and just delete the file, and then only look at the second stint that you do. Because or else, if not, the naming convention for the files is not really descriptive, and it only tells you the time and date, so you won't even know, is that the fastest time, or is that your fastest stint or your consistent stint. So just keep that in mind. And if you don't want, or if you know that you don't want to record MoTeC, then just don't, and then only record MoTeC as you need it, or else your hard disk space will get eaten up quite quickly. Yeah, drive consistently, because at the end you want to see trends in the squiggly lines. Yeah, and I think that is all I have at the moment. And then in the next steps, I will show you guys how to look at the latitude and longitude files, because this is a bit more intense. So that's all I have at the moment, guys. Any questions or anything? No? Discord. Okay. Right, so Afiq has sent his MoTeC file. So let's just have a quick look at it. So downloads, Telami, and then alright, so we can have a look at Afiq's session. Yep. stop, speed 7, and Kilami. So this is affix. Right. Okay. I forgot to show. So right. So Afiq did 138.9 here, which is great times. So unfortunately I won't be able to show this feature, so I will open up my slow time. Sorry Afiq, you're too fast. So I wanted to show this, which I forgot. So let's say I will just close this. So let's say so yeah, this is my time, so this makes sense. Alright, so in this in this example, so I have a 143.7, and then I have this 147, 153. I don't want to view this, right? So you can actually just filter it out. Oh, unfortunately it's not allowing me to. So close log file. So I can show within 1% of fastest, and then it only shows you the lap times that you're doing within 1%. Okay, so this one you can do this, and then it makes it easy for you to compare. You can also do show fastest tree, and then you can see, alright, where exactly you're losing time. Tu memang Afiq punya time is alien timing. That's why I can't show. Right, so let's have a look at Afiq's time. So give you guys an example of how I would do. So I know I didn't cover most of the things that I did, or I'm going to do now, but I'll show you what I normally do if I get a MoTeC file. This is what I normally would do. This is the basic workflow that I normally do now. Right, so I note down the fastest time, which is a 138. But for me, this 138 is because it's not as consistent as the other times. So this is the absolute best reference. But for me as an engineer, I want to see, okay, what is it? What is the natural tendencies of the car? Yeah. So if I'm coming in terms of setup work, I would think about, okay, what is it that the car is doing? If I'm thinking in terms of the driver improvement way, what is it that the driver is doing in this 41 times, just to see, okay, what is he doing most of the time, and what is it that he has to do that's catching my eyes. Yeah? So I see something already. So in the 141 times, I see it here. So you see how in this specific lap, there is a slight lift. It's a slight lift. So a slight lift like this is about 0.2 of a second. 0.2 of a second, but because a 0.2 of a second lift on a straight is actually quite a lot of time that is lost. Yeah. So for me, I want to see if there are these small little dips that is not occurring anywhere else. So if I look at the other laps, I don't see it happening. So I see it here, I don't see it there, 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 or I see it here. So there's a big one there, and also here. So that tells me that something's happening at this specific corner. Yeah. So turn 4, I don't remember where it is, so I can go to the track map. Okay, so this is the fast right-hander. So car has brake. This is, so the steering angle is already at the max, and we still have to lift off. Yeah? So this is something up, either with the car or with the driving punya. Okay. So it's there, and here I see throttle lift off. So this is more about getting the car to bite into the corner. So the car, that is sort of a late apex-ish turn, if I'm not mistaken. So we have to let go of the throttle, and here is a slight let go. So if it's a fast turn, and if Afiq wants to take it flat here, and this is already coming out of like already at the apex, and then the car is, he has to let go to sort of make sure the car doesn't go. So this might be a potential that we can do something with the car to make sure that the car can go flat out and maybe gain some time here. Because even in the fast lap time, you see how it's a bigger lift to make sure that the car is in that region. So it might be that the car is limiting, not the driver that is yeah. So in this case, there might be a potential that the car, we can make some adjustment to the car. And then here, because we know it's a fast turn, so it might be an aerodynamic change if we see something like this on all the other fast turns. Yeah? So this is this is how I would normally see. I try to see patterns and then to see, okay, is this how you feel during that turn? Yes or no? If it's yes, okay, what are the changes? If we make this change, what is the consequence? How would that affect the other corners? How does the driver feel about the other corners? If the other corners is okay, then it's only this one. It might be best not to change anything and then just live with it, that the car will be slightly understeery at this point in time, and that we have to just anticipate it and deal with it in the car. Yeah? So yeah, that is how I will go about, and just looking at this sheet just to see, okay, what is up with the stint. So hopefully you guys find that helpful, interesting, and then yeah, maybe next time we can do the lateral and the longitudinal G's graph. Yeah. Weh, sejam dah weh. Oh, 38 was an invalidated lap. Okay, doesn't show there. Yeah. Oh. Right. I don't have anything else. Eka sent me a file. I'll open up Eka's file. If you guys want to have a look, we can have a look together, yeah? But apart from that, I don't have anything else, yeah? Thanks you guys for joining. So zip. And then start here. Sama-sama. Thank you guys for joining. ID and alamak, Eka tak boleh nak buka lah, sebab your file you hantar ID, you have to send both the ID and the IDX punya file actually, then only can open. And then if I open up, and then it will just show you the whole lap. Dia tak tunjuk, it doesn't break down by how many laps you did, yeah? Yes, i2 Pro kena download i2 Pro punya software OP. Live ni record Faiz pun record, and then boleh ulang tayang. It might appear dekat Twitch ni. If not, I will upload one on my YouTube channel lah, and then you guys can have a look. Hopefully YouTube, they will allow me to stream there as well. Then I can stream there and then it will save there. Sebab Twitch dia 14 days saja, and then after that, after 14 days the recording is gone, so not so good. Alright guys, that is all from my side. Thank you for joining. Hope you guys find it useful. Thank you. Nanti kita buat lagi. Alright. Ciao.